So, good morning to all of you. Today we will discuss about isolation and identification of anaerobes. Anaerobic bacteriology is considered to be esoteric branch of clinical microbiology. What is esoteric? Esoteric means understood or enjoyed by only a few people with a special knowledge or interest. Means among the various branches of microbiology or various sections of microbiology, anaerobic bacteriology is only the branch which is liked by only few people and those who have a special interest in it or those who understand this branch of bacteriology. But the importance of anaerobic bacteriology can be understood from the frequency of isolation of anaerobes from various sites of infection like pleuropulmonary infection, intra-abdominal infections and pelvic infections. Anaerobes, they are mainly responsible for causing these types of infections, so they are not less important than aerobes. Now, what are various metabolic properties of anaerobes? Anaerobes produces their energy by fermentation. Anaerobic metabolism produces short chain fatty acids like methane and hydrogen. These are the gases which are produced during anaerobic metabolism, and short chain fatty acids are also produced. Anaerobic bacteria cannot detoxify the oxygen radical because they lack the enzyme superoxide dismutase, peroxidase and catalase. These are the enzymes which are present in aerobic bacteria. They are present, but they are absent in anaerobic bacteria. Therefore, anaerobes, they die if they are exposed to the air for even a short time. That's why anaerobes are anaerobes, because they lack these enzymes. We can say that anaerobic bacteria are metabolically inefficient. So I hope now you understand why anaerobes are anaerobe, because they produces their energy by fermentation. They produces short chain fatty acid, methane and hydrogen during their metabolism. They lack various enzymes like superoxide dismutase, peroxidase and catalase. That's why if we expose them to air, they die. Now, anaerobic infections, there are various factors predisposing to these infections. These are surgery and solid tumor. Whenever there are solid tumor and if they are removed by surgical procedure, after that chances of anaerobic infections are there. Or surgery done for any reason, again these patients are prone towards anaerobic infection. Immunosuppressed patient, they are again prone for anaerobic infections. Diabetes mellitus, one more risk factor for anaerobic infection. And of course, leukemia and lymphoma patient, they have various anaerobic infection, or we can say they are susceptible to various anaerobic infections. Now, what are various physical requirements of anaerobic bacteria? Anaerobes, they require reduced oxygen tension, less than 10%, and they require elevated carbon dioxide, that is 10 to 30% level for optimal growth. And as regarding electromotive potential, for aerobes this is plus 170 to plus 250 millivolt, whereas for anaerobes this is minus 150 to minus 250 millivolt. Now, what is the pathogenic sequence once anaerobes they gain entrance in our body, or if they are there as a normal flora, then how they start their infection? First, the prerequisite is trauma. Trauma, either accidental trauma or trauma due to surgery is required. Whenever there is mucosal breakage, then anaerobic infection sets in. Then thereafter there is contamination. Contamination is usually mixed type of bacterial contamination, means aerobe as well as anaerobe, both they causes a contamination, and aerobes they utilizes all the oxygen available at that particular place, and they make the environment anaerobe, which is favorable for anaerobes to grow and to proliferate and to cause further infection. Hence, when environment is favorable, proliferation of bacteria occurs, and finally there is selection. Those who have selective environment, they will gain upper hand in order to grow. Now, regarding clinical manifestation in anaerobic infection, always anaerobic infection are close to the mucosal surface. That's why they are common to the oral cavity, because mucosa is there. They are common to near the vaginal cavity or vagina, and intra-abdominal infections, they are common. Then obviously there should be history of trauma or surgery. Whenever we suspect anaerobic infection, we have to take proper history of trauma or surgery. Then deep dirty wounds, if they are there, military, after military war, whatever war wounds are there, or after accident when wounds are there, then chances of anaerobic infections are common there. And tissue necrosis and gangrene, if that is there, due to ischemia, if gangrene is there, again makes favorable environment for anaerobes to grow. And when anaerobic infection is there, and if we palpate that particular place where we suspect anaerobic infection, then we can feel crepitus. Crepitus is because of fluid and air both at same place. So when we press the area or the site, then because of gas, bubbling sound will be there, crepitus will be there on palpation, and the discharge from wound will be always be foul smelling because of fatty acids produced by anaerobe and because of gas produced by anaerobes. So discharge will be foul smelling. So whenever a patient with history of trauma or surgery or accident or war wound is there, and if we suspect ischemia there, and on palpation crepitus is there, and if discharge is foul smelling, then these are sufficient factors to indicate towards anaerobic infection. Hence, an aerobic request to the microbiology lab should be sent in these cases. So clinical manifestations are, they can cause primary lung abscess, which is secondary to aspiration of material from digestive tract. They can cause intra-abdominal infections, usually after trauma or surgery, and they can cause pelvic infections after trauma of delivery or abortion. So usually anaerobic infections, they are in form of lung abscess, intra-abdominal infections, or pelvic infections. Now, these are list of various anaerobes. These are Clostridia, whether tetani, Welchi, botulinum, or any Clostridia, they are anaerobe. Then Actinomyces israeli, one more anaerobe which is responsible for causing actinomyces. Propionibacterium acne, which is responsible for causing acne vulgaris. Peptostreptococci can cause variety of infections. Veillonella, gram-negative cocci, which are anaerobe. They can cause infection. Bacteroids, gram-positive bacilli, which are anaerobes. Fusobacterium. Then Streptococci, constellatus, intermedius, and anginosus. These three species of Streptococci, they are anaerobe. So whenever you are asked about enumerate anaerobes, you have to list all these anaerobes. Now, how diagnosis of anaerobic infection is done? If clinically suspected may be anaerobic infection, then obviously sample collection is there, and sample is to be sent to the microbiology lab for anaerobic culture and sensitivity. But while collecting the sample, we have to take care that we should collect the aspirate or discharge or material in the syringes, and that these syringes should be free from air, or if any air is there, that first we have to exclude, and thereafter we have to collect the sample. Otherwise, if any air is left in the syringe, anaerobe will die on exposure to the air. And second thing which we have to keep in mind is avoid contamination of normal flora while collecting sample. So the first thing is that exclude air while collecting the sample. Second, take care of contamination with the normal flora. Third thing is that use anaerobic transport device if you have to transport the sample to the laboratory. Then use anaerobic transport device so that anaerobe they remain live during transportation. And if pleuropulmonary infection is there, then instead of sputum, we should prefer transtracheal aspirate. Transtracheal aspirate is preferred instead of sputum because sputum may have mixed flora and there are chances of aerobes also. Hence, transtracheal aspirate will be the preferred specimen in case of pleuropulmonary infection. And collect a specimen from direct site of infection. So, while collecting sample, we have to keep in mind all these things. Now, after collection of sample is transported to the microbiology laboratory, and in microbiology laboratory, the first thing done is obviously smear preparation and gram staining. So smears are made from the samples which are received and gram staining of that smear is done. And under microscope, what we see mixed and several morphotypes. Mixed means aerobes will be there, anaerobes will be there, GPC, GNB, GPB, GNC, all type of infection microorganism will be there. So here we can't say that this is a contaminated specimen. No, anaerobic infection is always mixed type of infection, means aerobes plus anaerobes and cocci plus bacilli, gram positive as well as gram negative, all type of bacteria will be there if we examine the specimen in gram staining, but there should be pus cells. Usually what happens whenever we receive a sample in our laboratory, single type of organism they should be there whenever infections are suspected. But here in case of anaerobes, mixed and various morphotypes will be there. Then culture is done over anaerobic media. Anaerobic media are like blood agar in which kanamycin, vancomycin we have added, or vancomycin blood agar may be there, or bacteroid bile esculin agar or egg yolk agar. There are various media, special media for anaerobes they are there. So we inoculate the sample over those media and thereafter for incubation they are kept in the sealed jar or anaerobic chamber. Anaerobic chamber from which air has been removed but CO2 and hydrogen and nitrogen has been introduced. Biochemical test. Once colonies grow there, we have to identify the colony and various biochemical tests are done in order to identify the organism, and gas liquid chromatography is among them biochemical test, because fatty acids they are produced, they can be detected by GLC, gas liquid chromatography. If there is a question of antimicrobial sensitivity over the anaerobes which we have grown in the laboratory, then penicillin, vancomycin, kanamycin, rifampicin, neomycin, these are the drugs which we can apply over the plate for anaerobic antimicrobial susceptibility testing. So now, what is once the report is released by the microbiologist that such anaerobe have grown and this is the antimicrobial susceptibility, then treatment is to be started by the clinician, and treatment will be in form of incision and drainage. If any discharge or exudate collection is there, if any pus collection is there, then obviously first incision is given to and drainage of that pus is done either by syringe or by incision. Drainage of pus has to be done. So whatever pus is there, that should be evacuated or drained, and thereafter systemic antibiotics are given. If we give antibiotics without incision and drainage, then result will be antibioma or antibiotic tumor formation can be there at the site. Now, various anaerobic culture methods are already you have gone through that, and you know that various anaerobic jar like McIron 2 centfile jar or gas pack jar, they are used in order to culture the anaerobes in the laboratory. And anaerobic chambers are there in special anaerobiosis laboratories, or pre-reduced anaerobically sterilized roll tube technique can be adopted in order to grow the anaerobes in the laboratory, or single plate anaerobic cultures. These are the various methods which are adopted in order to grow the anaerobes in the laboratory. Now, various isolation and identification protocols are all the colonies which are growing on anaerobic plate, they should be processed for identification. And protocol makes use of simple test and special potency antimicrobial disk for presumptive identification of commonly isolated anaerobes. Whatever anaerobes routinely we encounter in our laboratory, for that either we use a special potency disk in order to identify them, or a simple biochemical test are done in order to identify them. Suppose if we have isolated gram-positive cocci, whatever anaerobic colonies are there, first we prepare a smear and we go for Gram staining. And in Gram staining, if suppose GPC they are there, then what we do, we apply SPS disc, 1 milligram disc, sodium polyanethol sulfonate disc 1 milligram over the plate, antimicrobial sensitivity plate, and incubation is done, anaerobic incubation is done. If this is found sensitive, then probably the organism is P. anaerobius. If this is resistant, then organism other Peptostreptococci species they can be there. So whenever GPC they are there, we suspect Peptostreptococci. Hence SPS disc is applied if this is sensitive. P. anaerobius may be there, otherwise other Peptostreptococci species they are there. If the organism isolated is gram-positive rod, then if they are cylinder rod with terminal round spore, which we can see in Gram staining, cylinder rods with terminal round spores, then, and if culture plate is showing swarming growth means growth in successive waveform, clear? Then we suspect Clostridium tetani. Clear? If there are thick gram-positive rods, then we subject them for reverse chem test. If this is positive, the organism are probably Clostridium belchi or perfringens. Or we can go for subculture over the egg yolk agar, and opacity around colonies if they are there, again we can suspect Clostridium perfringens. So in order to isolate Clostridium perfringens, either we can go for reverse chem test or we can go for subculture over the egg yolk agar, and if we see opacity around the colonies, this goes in favor of Clostridium perfringens. But always remember, Clostridium perfringens on Gram staining, they are thick gram-positive rods, whereas Clostridium tetani, they are cylinder rods with terminal round spores. Now, this is the lecithin media, and we can see opacity around the colonies here. We can see the colonies. This goes in favor of Clostridium belchi. Or we can go for reverse chem test. This is reverse chem test which we have already discussed. Now regarding antimicrobial susceptibility, I told you that the antibiotics applied over anaerobes, they are neomycin, kanamycin, penicillin, rifampicin, colistin and vancomycin. And the commonly isolated anaerobes are bacteroid, Prevotella, Porphyromonas, Fusobacterium and bacteroid Urealyticus. So in bacteroids, we can see that they are sensitive to only rifampicin, whereas they are resistant to all other drugs. And they form characteristic black colonies on bacteroid bile esculin agar. Whereas Prevotella, they have variable sensitivity to these drugs. Porphyromonas, again variable sensitivity to these drugs. Fusobacterium, same story. Whereas bacteroid Urealyticus, they form pitting colonies, pitting type of colonies they form, and they are resistant to the rifampicin as well as vancomycin. They are resistant. Now these are bacteroids which show characteristic black colonies over bacteroid bile esculin agar. Clear? And these are pitting type of colonies which are formed by bacteroid urealyticus. Pitting type of colonies. Thank you very much for your patience listening.